Today, we'll dive deeper on how Tesla's purpose-built robotaxi vehicle, the Cybercab, will not only change how people get from point A to point B forever, but how it compares to competitors like autonomous vehicles from Waymo and human-driven Uber ride-hail service. The recent Big Ideas report from ARK Invest shared a number of slides showing off their research on this. ARK is suggesting Tesla's Cybercab could be priced as low as just $15,000. We'll also review all the ways Tesla's robotaxi service can lower the cost per mile to an extent that it's 30 to 40% lower than Waymo, maybe even more. Automated cleaning, wireless charging, and a long list of other ways Tesla's designed a vehicle. And the person I wanted to have this discussion with is Brian White. He has a YouTube channel called Futuraza, but he probably is the most knowledgeable about the Cybercab of any of the Tesla retail and probably any analyst, by the way, because you interviewed quite a number of Tesla engineers who were responsible for the Cybercab, and you've done a few shows on this. You know Cybercab most well. So welcome, Brian.
Not only have I dug deep into it, I've taken all the criticism and brought on additional engineers and experts to address those as well. I'm confident if you know more about the Cybercab than me, you're bound by a non-disclosure agreement.
Exactly. And so what I want to ask you, of course, is, you have these research firms like ARK Invest, and we'll go through three of their slides, the three most important slides as far as I'm concerned. Because, if robotaxi is going to succeed, of course, you need to have full self-driving and that technology. But if you are able to compete, people go, hey, Waymo's already there. These Chinese competitors are already there. How do they actually compete if everybody's there? But the way they'll compete is cost. If they're able to price their ride hailing to be 10% of an Uber, and then whatever, we'll see what their numbers are against the Waymo, how much more business will you earn and how much more market will you get? So and that's cost per mile is a number of things, right? It's the cost of the vehicle, first and foremost. And that's why Tesla focused on making the Cybercab very, very affordable, cost cheap. And that's why you can share with us all the ways that they did this. But then they also have automated cleaning and they have wireless charging as well. So let's take a look. So you've got Big Ideas 2025, ARK Invest just dropped this, and they basically have a segment on robo-taxis. Thank you, Tasha, for doing this. So the first thing that they bring up here is that they suggest that a $15,000 Cybercab is possible. $15,000 just for the Cybercab. I want to ask you if you think that's right. What these guys are saying is that the Cybercab, according to Tesla, will have an efficiency of 5.5 miles per kilowatt hours. And then with the battery cost declining because of White's law, which has been proven to be correct over this time, then they think that at that point, a battery could cost as little as $2,300. Typically, the drivetrain of vehicles is just 20% of the total vehicle cost, which means that you can price it at $15,000. What's your thoughts about this particular comment about the batteries? And then we'll go to other things about the Cybercab.
So let's talk about the battery in everyone else's car. Everyone else is going to be starting at about 60 kilowatt hours, maybe 75, maybe going up to 100, 110. That's an expensive battery pack. No matter how much costs fall, it's too big of a battery for the use case. You've got more capacity than you need. So if you're talking 30, 35 kilowatt hours, your cost is automatically cut by more than half right there. But where are you going to, what kind of battery you're going to use? Well, what you need, because you want longevity, is you want an LFP battery. Lithium iron phosphate has more cycle life. It's not as energy dense, but in a 30 kilowatt hour pack, the penalty is much smaller. So where are you going to get that? There are no scale producers of LFP batteries in the US. Oh, wait. Tesla purchased LFP equipment from CATL last year. It is being installed in Reno. They will have access to the cheapest kind of battery, the longest lasting kind of battery. And we do know that battery costs just come down over time. The upfront cost is very high. The marginal cost is much lower. And at scale, and everything is about extreme scale. Cybercab is about extreme scale. Those battery assumptions are not crazy. Of course, at 2,300, well, if I could get a battery for 2,300, no. We're not saying you can get a battery for 2,300. We're saying the manufacturer can get it. And this is an advantage Tesla uniquely has because they have They own the battery factory. They control the supply of where the batteries are made, and they'll be buying them. They'll be building them at tremendous scale, and they'll be building a much smaller battery. That conclusion is not crazy.
All right. And so, other than battery, right, which they say will be 20% of the total vehicle cost, but there's all these things they did to make when they decided to make the Cybercab the way they did to reduce the cost. Can you go through that list?
Well, let's start with the motors. Motors is another big expense. These are not high horsepower, fun driving motors. These are minimum viable products. These are the least horsepower you can get in to get the job done. These cars are only geared to go 85 miles an hour at maximum because that is the highest speed limit in the US. That means that they can have the smaller motor, a cheaper motor. They could potentially make it, as was discussed a year and a half ago, with cheaper materials. So they don't need as many of the more exotic materials. They can solve it with physics rather than materials. So and that's just the motor itself. The wiring harness is smaller. Think of all the things that have been eliminated. You don't have in your side mirror. You've got a wire that moves one motor, a wire that moves a second motor. You've got a dimming feature. You've got a heating feature. You've got 5 different things going on, 5 different controls that need to get to that mirror. So you've cut the mirror cost out, obviously, which improves your aerodynamic drag by 1 to 2%, but you've also reduced the wiring needs, all the weight for that wire, all the engineering and validation for that wire. And we're just talking about one thing. We could talk about the fact that it has a solid roof instead of a glass roof. It's cheaper. It's lighter. It reduces the amount of air conditioning and climate control you need because it's not wicking heat out in the winter and irradiating heat in the summer. Every single aspect has been considered.
Wow. And so now this Cybercab, we've seen it. We've seen 20 plus of them probably. There was 20 of them at the actual We Robot event, and then they're planning to do mass scale next year. They've designed it. And my point is that this was a purposely built product for robotaxi, and not only the experience, but more importantly, the cost. They
Well, I
can bring
have
this
some
cost down.
I have some beans here I could spill if you'd like. The
Mhm.
rumor I'm hearing is that there is a pilot production line in Texas that is already producing additional
Wow.
models. So they are still in the validation phase, but they are making those improvements that they need to make to get to scale. So some of
Yeah.
the models you are seeing are not
Yeah.
models 1 through 20, but maybe model 28, 35. We don't know.
Wow. Okay. So that's if that they're starting early. My point being that this was purposely built to lower the cost of a vehicle that's going to be used for robotaxi. In the meantime, you've got competitors like Waymo that's throwing in all of these lidars. They have to negotiate with the vehicle maker. They have to start to create their vehicles with the Waymo technology. That's going to take 2-3 years to come out with that vehicle. It's not going to be until somebody designs a robotaxi first. Tesla's cars at mass scale will be much cheaper. Then you add the automated cleaning, wireless charging, all these things that come together to deliver the service, the full service. And the cost is huge. So let's take a look at this of the way that they compare against Waymo. This is again from ARK Invest, and they said that the Tesla's cost per mile is 30 to 40% lower than Waymo's. Its higher cost structure is likely to make Waymo less competitive or less profitable than a Cybercab robotaxi service. Waymo's dependence on LiDAR and higher cost auto manufacturers, right? These are the partners that they'll have to partner to create the car itself, and are already not even profitable with EVs. Now you add in all these LiDARs and everything, are 2 drags on its competitive positioning. I think they're totally underestimating. They're saying cost per mile is 34% lower. Fine. I personally think it's going to be way more than that. So here's what they've shown here. When they say early launch, they're talking about 10 cars per remote operator, with utilization rates roughly equal to ride hail today. So Waymo launched. This is what they're pricing it at. Actually, I see again, this is their cost per mile, but the price per miles are still the same as Uber, which is $2 per mile.
Yeah.
Then you got the Model 3, if you're using a Model 3. Now, then when you get to scale, and this is when you assume 100 cars per remote operator, which who knows if Waymo will ever even get there, with an improved autonomous operation utilization rate. So here's where they're thinking that the 6th gen Waymo, which already launched, which is like less LiDAR, um, and they're putting those into the cars. But this is broken down by the purpose depreciation, right? So obviously, it's okay. There, a lot of people say it's okay that Waymo's cars cost $100,000 or $50,000 because it's going to be just depreciated over the years, anyways. And then you got operation support, which is the black. You got insurance. You got energy. You got maintenance and tires, parking, and tax. And when I look at this, they have operation support to be fairly equal. And that's not going to be the case because the Waymo still needs much more remote operators. And I don't know where you throw it in. Is it maintenance? Where do you throw it in? Where do you throw it in? The cleaning costs or because if they have a partnership with another organization that's going to do it, you need to pay them margin and charging your superchargers, those kind of things.
Okay.
What's your approach here?
Yeah. So a lot of these numbers are nonsense. Anyone saying that the upfront cost doesn't matter because you're going to drive it into the ground needs to crunch the numbers and say, great, how many miles is it? Because whether that depreciation is on resale or just the end of life, it is still your depreciation. So you've got to figure that Hyundai is going to give you a good 150,000 miles. Well, I know my buddy's got a Prius that's been used as a taxi for 300,000. Yeah. And there are other ones that didn't make it that long. It's not a guarantee. Those are the outliers. The Cybercab is designed as a forever vehicle. It is cheap to repair. It is cheap to replace parts on it. And you've got it's going to almost certainly have an LFP battery pack, which is good for 500,000 miles. Of reasonable use, and they can control how the use is done if that's important, if they want to maximize dollars to shorten the life. But LFP doesn't really degrade in the same way that a nickel manganese cobalt battery would. The LiDAR costs for Uber, I'm less concerned. Kyle's been saying that LiDAR in China has thank you for Waymo has gotten that LiDAR in China has gotten more affordable. It is likely that they will be able to trim those costs. But if you're starting with a whole vehicle and then retrofitting it, there's huge costs. There's huge complications. The Waymo 6th gen vehicle is a joke. They're importing Chinese vehicles to retrofit. Well, that's great, but the import tariff on a Chinese vehicle is 100%. And it might now be 110%. It is very, very high. So those cars are not going to be affordable. They might be better. They might last longer, but they're not affordable. And when you're talking about cleaning, the Cybercab was designed to be cleaned. It is so purpose built for it. It is easy to clean. If you look at a Hyundai or really any other car, the only car I can think of that's easier to clean is the backseat of a police cruiser because it's one sheet of plastic and a tub. So they've got it, and it's the real thing. If I'm hiring someone, if I've got 10 Waymos and 10 Cybercabs and I need to hire people to clean them, you know which ones are going to take twice as long, because it's got all the cracks and crevices. It's got all the traditional materials you would expect in a car over a public vehicle. And again, they thought of absolutely everything. And if you're building a car that has a purpose other than Cybercab, you are going to be spending more money. The Cybercab also employs different suspension because it's not designed to take high lateral G's in corners. It's not going to be raced around a track. The brakes, the suspension, the tires, all of it are purpose built for this one very gentle use case. I had someone say, well, with my Turo fleet, I'm always wondering, I always have to go out and check all the tires, make sure they're not worn down too much. How will these guys, and if there's no humans involved, how will they know when the tires are getting low? By the miles, because they're all driven in the same style. If one car is low on tires, they're all going to be low at the same number of miles. It's just how it works because it's the same driver in every vehicle. The car itself.
Yeah. So just to finish off this slide, it says here, vehicles per $5 billion in CapEx. So whenever you build a factory, you spend $5 billion. Tesla Cybercabs is built for easy production and creation. You can create many more vehicles than you would, let's say a Hyundai would have to create these and then they'd have to do this. There's only 700 Waymos right now. So people are thinking they're so far ahead. They need to make hundreds of thousands. They need to partner, let's say, with Hyundai or Zeekr or whoever they partner with. to create hundreds of thousands, millions, and who's the best at doing this? The reason why this is important is the more cars you make, the lower the price, the scale, the lower every supplier is, and the lower the, the higher the gross margins and lower cost of goods and all that. So that's a big deal. So let's talk about the wireless charging or the automated cleaning. This is a video that Tesla released just a couple days ago, right? Last week. And they showed automated cleaning. And let's listen into what they're actually saying.
Gifts for me, so kind. They feed me like a king. But I don't do it for accolades. My work is my sustenance, soaking up every last crumb in every last crevice. Potato chips. Like our own little game of hide and seek. Found you. It's a simple life, but as the sun is to a flower, vital. Until next time, my old friend.
So you've got the automated doors closing. You drive it into the service, and hopefully there's going to be many of these places where they can have the automated, and it's a bot, right? And it's a smart bot, and they already designed it. They already thought about it. They're already going to start rolling it out by next year. So which car company, is Waymo already talking about this? Do they have this, or is it going to be all humans and they're going to partner with Uber and they're going to come in and do human stuff? Yes. It's going to be a huge cost savings,
I'm looking to deploy a little fleet. Okay, you and me, we're going into business. We're going to deploy a little fleet. But what any of these fleets is going to be is a game of spinning plates. And the number of plates you can spin varies depending on the plate, depending on the stick. But what if all of a sudden Cybercab comes along and it's just an automated plate spinning machine? Now you can scale infinitely. There's no limit in that regard because you don't have to keep running around and doing all the things. If the network can find all the rides, process all the payments, great. You've got that part handled, great. But it can also clean them. It can also charge them. Well, now I don't even need a parking lot because you're just going to deal with all of it.
Yeah.
So and then, compare that to any other model and it becomes labor intensive. You start, once we get to this many cars, we're going to have to hire a person. When we get to this many, we're going to need to hire 2. I don't know which tow truck to call. You know what? Don't worry about it. That's on us. We got all of that.
Yeah. I don't think Waymo's thought this through yet. They haven't announced what their plan is, but Tesla has a patent that was approved, and they showed in the patent how if I set my car in as a consumer and I own a Model 3, Model Y, Model X, whatever it is, and I say it's going to be part of the ride-hail network, it will go and it'll pick up a passenger. Well, actually, the way the patent works is that it'll go and get cleaned, go get a passenger, drive around, and then when it detects, because inside the car, it actually can see, has cameras inside the car. Again, another thing that the others don't have. And it can actually know whether or not there's something spilled, something happened. It'll go to the cleaning station, get clean, and then set home. Because I said I wanted to pick me up at my work by 5 o'clock in the evening. It will know all that, get cleaned in time to get back to me. So when I get my car back, it's already been cleaned. That's what the patent said. So
why your car? Why not take a different one? Why would you?
Oh, yeah.
Why would it need to be yours?
That's right. That's right.
You got to change your thinking.
Yeah.
That's a whole bunch of extra miles.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't necessarily. Yeah. It's like, why my car? Maybe the one that's closest to me can take me home. And that doesn't have to be my specific one. But this is a robot. This is Tesla's skills. They have bots. They have AI. I coined a new term, Brian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
There's robotaxi and there's robotics, and it's actually robot AI. Just take out the X. Instead of robotaxi, it's robot AI. And everything that Tesla's doing is robot AI.
All right. I'm sure that'll catch on.
Okay. So let's take a look at this. This is another slide that they had here at ARK Invest. Autonomous ride-hail should reduce costs, including deadhead miles. So now they're comparing against human ride-hail and robotaxi forecasts, cost per mile. And if you look on the left here, the bar is $2. Typically, it costs me to go from my house to the airport about a 20 mile. It costs actually $60, $70.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
The cheapest for me is $50, just based where I'm at, by taking an Uber or Lyft. And it's okay, let's assume it's $2 to $3 per mile. Let's assume it's $2. But that's what the price is today. Here they're talking about robotaxi is going to be 25 cents at scale. Now, that may not be what Tesla rolls out at first. They shouldn't. They should probably charge $1, just cheaper than Uber or Lyft, but they don't have to charge 25 cents off the bat. But eventually they will. And imagine if you've got a 10% reduction, right? So instead of costing me $50, it cost me $5 to go 20 miles. So yeah, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, I am deeply skeptical of the 25 cents a mile claim. The crazy thing here is if you look at the blue, that's shows on the left how much Uber takes, 60 cents per mile, and how much Robotaxi would take, 10 cents a mile.
Yeah.
Uber is not profitable, even charging 60 cents. How on earth can a different company reduce the cost of managing the network by that much, by 5/6? That
Volume,
strikes me.
dude. Volume, automation.
I don't see. I think it's much more complicated than ARC gives it credit for. But let's just say it is 60 cents instead of 10. It's still under $1 a mile. But I'm also skeptical of the 25 cent claim because that means over the course of 100,000 miles, it would gross significantly less than 25,000 because there are deadhead miles. Tesla believes they can reduce that over Uber and Lyft, and I believe that they can because humans have to go home at some point, and a car doesn't. It can just sit there and wait for the fare. So that would, just be in storage on the side of the road, waiting for the next fare to appear. So I don't know if I think these are a little optimistic, but even if we use your figure, $1, which I think is a great starting point, it is at worst half the cost of Uber, and you don't tip a robotaxi. So right there, you're coming out, even if it was equal straight across, you're going to come out ahead because there's no expectation of tips. And I know that that's not as common in other countries, but I think this is primarily aimed at launch to be a US based product for a US based audience. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Again, just keep in mind that this is almost 1/10 of this scale. This is $2. This is 25 cents. So if you look at the deadhead cost, it's a lot more expensive, right? Deadhead cost means that you're not driving. How many Uber drivers are sitting there, but this one can keep driving around forever because they're not tired. The other one is maintenance and tires. Look how tiny it is. Because again, as you explained, Cybercab was designed for less maintenance, less tires. And because it's EV, there's no less parts. And here it looks small, but I think it's way more than this. As you know, cost to maintain, like the car service, just, broken transmission, broken 1,000 parts there that can break at any time.
Well, and they need.
And then the energy, look at the energy.
Oil
Look, energy is like less than 5 cents, like let's say 2 cents for the energy. And look how tiny this is. It's like, come on, fuel, gas costs, it's got to be a lot higher than this. They're just saying it's like what looks like to me that most 10 cents per mile.
Also, I would be curious to know from folks in the comments, last time you took an Uber, what was your mileage? What was your trip distance and cost? Because I have found, like you in the US, I don't think I've seen a ride anywhere close to $2.
I agree with you.
No.
Yeah, for me. So the other thing I want to mention is Cybercab wireless charging. So first, Tesla already has supercharger stations in many of the major cities. All they would need to do is convert them into wireless charging. And maybe they don't even have to be there. They can be where the automated cleaning is. But because these things can be charged, at whatever, they can take a look at which cars will be charged when. But of course, there's also Model 3s, Model Ys. They somehow need to be charged. And that's where you own those. You would need to charge it at night yourself. But okay, so this wireless charging though, again, what other car company has already got patents, already has this ready to go? This allows reduction in time to charge these cars. I just don't know how Waymo is going to do this with Hyundai cars. Who's
Mhm.
charging them? Who's charging them?
Mhm.
Is Hyundai already going to carry electric wireless charging? No. So somebody has to do it.
So
You
hear
know.
me out, and I'm crazy here. I'm a crazy person. Imagine I'm sitting at a supercharger. My car knows that I'm charging. My car knows I'm in the car because it can detect the seat, the weight, and a little pop-up shows on my screen saying, "Hey, plug in the car next to you. I'll take $1 off your charging session."
Interesting. Smart. Could
Yeah,
be.
and there's a
That's
car sitting there
interesting.
that just pulled up that hasn't plugged in. There's no one in it.
Mm,
There, $1
interesting.
off.
Theoretically, Tesla could give you access to that car because they know that car, they know your car, they know.
Well,
Interesting.
yeah, I poke the button and that port opens, and there you go.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate this analysis. You again know the most about cybercabs and the cost reduction. You were able to list out so many things, and that's the thing that I love is that you're explaining to people what exactly Tesla did to reduce the price of the car, the vehicle, purpose built for robotaxi. And if you can get the car down to $50,000, but also the automated cleaning, the wireless charging, the app that you would use to monitor and manage who goes where, presumably Waymo, owned by Google, could do that too, but they've got to get started. They got to show that they have it going, and maybe they're 2, 3, 4 years behind. Okay. And the other competitors need to do as well. Thank you, Brian. And if you guys want to watch some of his videos on Cybercab, he goes through a major long list and he points it out exactly what the engineers told him. Thanks, everybody. Go check him out at Futurasa. Bye all. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.